Welcome to Sexpertease. I'm your host, Erica Rivera. As we step into the final stretch of the year, our bodies often start whispering truths that we've ignored for months. Fatigue settles deeper, desire flickers differently, and routine can feel heavy. This episode is an invitation not to change your body or force desire, but to give yourself permission to slow down and reconnect with pleasure in a way that feels soft, spacious, and honest. Tonight is about remembering that pleasure isn't a luxury, it's a vital part of your well being. This is the perfect time of year for a reset because the noise of obligations starts to peak. Holiday stress, emotional load, expectations from others, and exhaustion from everything you've carried. Sorry again with the allergies. When your mind is full, your body can't feel. So before we ask more from ourselves, we pause and ask, what do I actually need? Where is my body asking for comfort instead of stimulation? Those questions matter more than any technique, any toy, or any routine. In this episode, we'll shift from pleasure, or should I say pressure, from pressure-based sexuality to curiosity-based intimacy. Instead of chasing desire, we'll learn how to create the conditions where desire naturally returns. We'll explore nervous system science, emotional patterns, practical rituals, and a gentle approach to pleasure that helps you finally exhale. Tonight isn't about performing, it's about coming home to yourself. All right. Most people don't realize how much the mental load affects intimacy. It's not just work stress, it's the invisible checklist running 24/7. Bills, groceries, caretaking, emotional labor, decision fatigue, all of that lives in the same part of your brain that processes sexual interest. So when your mind is overloaded, desire isn't gone, it's buried under tasks, responsibilities, and survival mode thinking. And it has nothing to do with your worth, your attractiveness, or your relationship. Emotional burnout feels like numbness, shutdown, or irritability. Not because you aren't sexual, but because your body simply can't open up when it's bracing against the next demand. Think about how hard it is to relax when you've been holding tension for weeks or even months. The mental load becomes a blanket that suffocates sensation. It's not that your desire is broken, your bandwidth is broken. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it's designed to do, and that's to protect you. So tonight, we're giving your body a moment to be heard. You're allowed to put down the mental load long enough to prioritize your pleasure. This is your reminder that desire thrives in spaciousness, not pressure. And by acknowledging how heavy this year has felt, you're already taking the first step toward renewing your connection to intimacy. One of the biggest lies that we're taught is that pleasure should look a certain way. Spontaneous, effortless, high energy, constantly available. But real intimacy doesn't look like that, especially at the end of a long year. When sex becomes another task on your list, your body disconnects, not because you don't want intimacy, but because pressure and pleasure cannot coexist. This episode is here to release you from the expectation of performing desire. When you let go of performance, you can finally tune into sensation again. Slow pleasure, the kind that builds from safety, warmth, and presence, often gets overshadowed by the myth that you need to feel ready instantly. But desire grows when you stop focusing on doing it right and start focusing on what your body is actually experiencing. It becomes a journey instead of a goal. So we'll explore pleasure as a state of being, not a checklist. We reclaim intimacy as something you feel your way into, not something you perform. So the more you give yourself permission to be imperfect, messy, curious, and slow, the more your body is going to naturally respond with openness instead of pressure. Most people underestimate how much their nervous system controls desire. When you're stressed, overwhelmed, or emotionally stretched thin, your body activates its survival system: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. In this state, your brain automatically deprioritizes pleasure because it believes you need protection, not intimacy. So if you've been wondering why you feel off, this is biology. It's not brokenness. Rest becomes your most powerful form of foreplay. When your nervous system feels safe, then your body becomes more receptive to touch, connection, and sensation. And this is why pleasure thrives in slowness, quiet, and grounding. Think of rest as the warm up that your brain and your body require before desire can awaken. Without rest, pleasure just has no space to rise. So, we're going to talk a little bit more about how to create nervous system safe environments, low stimulus moments, cozy rituals, mindful breathing, and gentle presence. These aren't shortcuts, they're foundational. When your body is given permission to pause, then pleasure follows naturally. Rest is not optional, you guys. It's essential. Let's talk a little bit about this year-end body audit. Our bodies store everything we experience, from stress, grief, joy, longing, tension, all of it. So a year-end body audit helps you tune into where your body is holding emotional residue. So, are your shoulders tense? Is your jaw clenched? Do you feel disconnected from your hips or your chest? These patterns tell a story about how you've been surviving. Awareness is the first step toward restoring pleasure and releasing that built up tension. Emotional patterns influence intimacy more than we realize. Maybe you've spent the year accommodating others and ignoring your own needs. Maybe you've been pushing through exhaustion. Maybe you've been disconnected from pleasure because you've been in survival mode. A body audit gives you a chance to acknowledge how hard you've been working and how much your body deserves gentleness. So, we're going to explore how to identify tension spots and invisible emotional habits, and how to create small shifts that invite your body back into softness. The audit isn't about judgment, it's about reconnection. You can't change what you don't acknowledge, and your body deserves to be understood before it's basically asked to give more. Reclaiming sensation means slowing down enough to feel again. After months of burnout, your body might be sending faint signals. Maybe like a desire for warmth, a need for softness, or a longing for touch that isn't rushed. Micro pleasures like warm showers, gentle strokes on your arm, cozy fabrics, or even slow breathing help reframe your nervous system to experience comfort before arousal. Slow touch is one of the most powerful tools that we have. When you approach your body with curiosity, not urgency, sensation can return gradually. Even 1 minute of intentional touch can reconnect you with yourself. Curiosity is the antidote to numbness, and you don't need a partner to reclaim touch. Solo exploration counts too. So, we'll talk about building your personal pleasure language through sensory awareness. Pleasure lives in many small things. The more you notice, the more your body responds, and reclaiming sensation is also reclaiming presence. And presence is the foundation of pleasure. We carry old narratives about our desire. I should want more. I'm too tired. My partner will be disappointed. I used to be more sexual. Sorry, these stories don't reflect who you are today. They reflect pressure and shame and outdated self expectations. So, letting go of these narratives is a radical act of self compassion. You're allowed to evolve. We all evolve. Your sexuality is allowed to shift. These old scripts, they often come from culture, religion, relationships, past experiences that basically taught you to prioritize everyone else but yourself. When we hold on to them, they continue to restrict our pleasure and distort our sense of worthiness. So you can't really reset if you're going to continue to carry stories that don't belong to you. So let's rewrite them. Let's explore techniques to release outdated beliefs and craft new, softer narratives rooted in honesty and not obligation. You deserve a pleasure identity that reflects your present reality and not your past. Letting go makes space for new desire to grow. Pleasure is deeply environmental. Lighting, scent, sound, temperature, clutter, all of these influence your nervous system. When you create a pleasure-friendly space, you signal safety to your body. Think warm lighting, soft blankets, clean sheets, music that relaxes you, and scents that ground you. Intimacy starts long before touch, and it starts with atmosphere. Pleasure habits matter. Something as simple as lighting a candle at bedtime, or stretching for 2 minutes, or playing calming music can easily shift your nervous system out of stress mode. These rituals, they condition your body to expect softness and pleasure. You don't need a full spa night. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just having consistent micro moments that say, I deserve ease. Even if you live with roommates, kids, pets, or chaos, pleasure thrives in intentional spaces. So when your environment softens, your body's going to follow. Many people forget that desire is built on connection, not on sexual acts. So non-sexual intimacy, like cuddling and holding hands, gentle massages, back scratches, shared baths, or simply sitting close, that's going to nurture the nervous system and rebuild trust. This is especially important at year's end when energy is low. Soft intimacy fuels desire far more sustainably than pressure to perform. So emotional foreplay is real. Eye contact, inside jokes, shared meals. This maybe sounds all corny to you, but even slow conversations, these create the emotional glue that makes sexual intimacy feel safe and inviting. When you remove performance from the equation, your body can show you the ways that it naturally wants to connect. This is the foundation that keeps relationships alive. When you prioritize softness, sexual desire becomes a natural extension of emotional closeness. Non sexual intimacy is the bridge between exhaustion and pleasure. And our bodies, they often shift throughout the year, hormonally, emotionally, energetically. Winter tends to bring introspection, slower rhythms, and a desire for warmth and comfort. Spring, on the other hand, brings curiosity and renewal. Summer heightens energy and sensation. Fall invites grounding. Understanding your seasonal pleasure patterns helps you to stop fighting your natural rhythms and start working with them. Maybe I'll do an episode just on that, on seasonal pleasure patterns. When you map your desire across the seasons, you'll notice patterns like months where you're more playful, months where you're more internal, months where connection feels deeper. These shifts they're normal, they're healthy. Society teaches us to expect consistency, but biology teaches us to expect cycles. Tonight, we're honoring those cycles. So track your pleasure seasons and use them to set realistic, compassionate expectations for intimacy. When you understand your seasonal patterns, you stop blaming yourself and start supporting yourself. Pleasure becomes a year-round relationship with your own body. Your body is always communicating with you. Even when you're not consciously listening, signals of depletion can be subtle. It could be irritability, numbness, difficulty concentrating, or a sense of being disconnected from your own pleasure. So even when you're not listening, these things are happening. And they're not flaws, they're just messages. Your nervous system is basically telling you, I need space, I need rest, or I need attention. When you learn to interpret these signals, you stop treating them as problems and start treating them as invitations to slow down and care for yourself. A lot of us tend to interpret it as problems, but they're not. There's also signals of desire that often get overlooked because they don't always look like traditional arousal cues. Sometimes desire shows up as craving closeness, wanting to be touched gently, or seeking warmth and comfort. It may show up as daydreaming, feeling playful, or simply wanting softness instead of stimulation. These are early signals. The body's whispering, I'm open. When you honor them, you nurture desire instead of waiting for a dramatic spark. When you tune into those sensations without judgment, you become more attuned to what pleasure feels like for you right now. Not last year, not last month, not in your 20s, now. Your body is evolving, and listening to it is an act of intimacy. So, your year-end pleasure intention is not a resolution. It's not a demand or a promise. It's an anchor, a guiding feeling that you want to carry into the next chapter. So instead of saying, I need to have more sex, or I need to be more sexual, your intention might be something softer, like, I want to feel more connected to my body, or I want to feel intimacy to feel safe, or I want to explore pleasure without pressure. Intentions, they create possibility, not pressure. So this is about choosing one shift, small but meaningful. Maybe it's adding one moment of softness to your week. Maybe it's making space for 5 minutes of grounding touch before bed. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to say not tonight without guilt, or permission to say yes when you feel ready. Your intention should feel nourishing, not overwhelming. It shouldn't feel overwhelming. The point is to choose something your nervous system can succeed at. So take a breath and reflect on what your pleasure needs most. Think about what your body has been asking for. Think about what has felt heavy this year and what has felt restful. Choose an intention that supports the version of you who is stepping into 2026. Rested, grounded, softer, more attuned to your pleasure. One intention can reshape everything. Now, rituals, they don't have to be elaborate. A pleasure ritual is simply a repeated act that helps your body feel safe, open, and receptive. Weekly rituals might look like a slow shower with soothing oils or a 10-minute dance break. That's what it looks like for me. Or quiet time without screens. Monthly rituals might involve body scans, journaling about your desires, scheduling time with your partner or yourself, or organizing a pleasure-friendly space. Seasons can also guide your rituals. I mentioned seasons earlier. I keep mentioning that. Yeah, I'm probably going to do an episode on just that. But seasons can guide your rituals. Winter grounding, spring curiosity, summer play, fall reflection. The power of ritual is consistency, not intensity. So when you repeat a ritual, your brain begins to associate it with safety and pleasure. Even non-sexual rituals like stretching and lighting candles or listening to sensual music can become foundations for intimacy. You don't have to be in the mood for the ritual for it to matter. The ritual is what helps create the mood over time. Pleasure rituals rewire your nervous system slowly, gently, and sustainably. So choose at least one new ritual to carry into 2026. Something realistic, accessible, and nurturing. When you commit to small rituals, you create a long-term relationship with your own pleasure. Rituals remind you that intimacy isn't something you chase, it's something you build, one soft moment at a time. Pleasure without pressure is the foundation of sustainable intimacy. When you remove the expectation to perform or produce a specific outcome, your body finally gets permission to explore. Pressure forces desire into hiding, and curiosity, on the other hand, invites desire to return. This shift allows pleasure to become playful and fluid and adaptable, something that you experience, not something that you're like earning. So when you stop trying to fix your desire, you create room for your body to guide you instead of your mind. So there's going to be days when desire is low and days when it's higher. I mean, that's normal. You know, you're not a machine. However, your sexuality is not a productivity metric. Pleasure thrives in environments where you're allowed to feel how you actually feel without forcing anything. So, tonight's reset is all about honoring that truth. As we prepare to close, remember this: pleasure grows when you stop judging yourself and start listening to yourself. Curiosity creates intimacy. Softness creates safety. And when you lead with those things, desire becomes a companion again and not obligation. So, as we close tonight's episode, take a moment to place your hand over your heart or your belly, feel your body soften, and just spend time reconnecting with yourself. That matters. Before the rush of the rest of December begins, because it's only the beginning, you've set an intention to honor your pleasure, your rest, and your needs. That's not small, that's powerful. And tonight marks the beginning of a softer, more grounded relationship with your own body. Think of one pleasure intention that you want to carry into the new year. Something simple, compassionate, and nourishing. It might be adding a weekly moment of softness, choosing rest without guilt, practicing slow touch, or giving yourself the grace to feel what you feel. Whatever your intention is, let it be gentle. Let it be yours. Pleasure is not something you earn. It's something that you can reclaim one breath at a time. All right, now, before we go, a special announcement. So, in 2 weeks, so December 16th, we're celebrating my birthday with a special mailbag episode. So, if you have juicy, thoughtful, heartfelt, or personal questions that you'd love me to answer on air, submit them by December 9th. So, submit them by next week's episode. You can message me privately. There's an email here, sexpertease@e360tvlive.com. Or you can also comment on the designated post this week, because we always post these episodes on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, which you can follow here at the Erica Rivera. I cannot wait to hear from you. I want to answer all your juicy questions for my birthday, so please submit. And thank you for joining me tonight for this pleasure reset. Your body deserves softness. Your pleasure deserves space, and you deserve rest. I will see you next week.